First story this morning takes us to the UK, where the British media say former Prime Minister Tony Blair could face war crime charges as a result of the Iraq War inquiry report. The long-awaited 1 million-word report is not expected to be published anytime soon and may be delayed until after the May general elections. Criticisms are now emerging among politicians over the delay in releasing the findings of the Iraq War inquiry to the public. Some say this is already becoming a scandal. While the Chilcot report on the 2003 invasion of Iraq is being held up by criticism of leading figures in the Blair government. Apart from Blair, UK's former Foreign Secretary Jack Straw, the MI6, and certain government law officers are expected to be criticized in the report.
Yeah, the report.
Crossing over to Brisbane, joined by radio host and political commentator, Mr. Max Igan. Thank you so much for being with us. Well, what do you make of it? First of all, that the report, 1 million words, finally, it is done, but...
She actually does sound like a robot, though. She sounds like a Johnny Cab. Total Recall.
It's not going to be released for months still. How are they allowed basically to get away with something that probably is of utmost importance for the British public?
Well, how have they been able to get away with everything up to this point? That's the question, really, isn't it? It's a scandal that it's being delayed this long, and it costs enormous amounts to have it delayed this long. And it's even a scandal that they're saying that Tony Blair could face war crimes charges, because the Iraq War was a war crime. It was a war crime. It was based on lies from the ground up right since its inception. We know this. It's not even a debatable point. And one of the dangers of this, really, even when it is released, is that Tony Blair will simply be hung out to dry when it isn't simply Tony Blair that should be charged. It should be every cabinet member that agreed with him, even continuing on to the current administration, which has been proven to be supporting the war crime, which is Guantanamo Bay and the torture that's been going on there. I mean, this has just been an ongoing thing. The empire is out of control. And it's great to see that there are some politicians, or at least some people in England, that are pushing for this to happen, at least, but it should have happened long ago. I mean, it's about the only thing we've got to hold on to, really. We've got to bring these politicians accountable, and we've got to do it as quickly as possible, because the world's getting pretty out of control because of their actions.
But do you think, I mean, you said that probably they may hang Tony Blair out to dry, but so many others are also responsible. But do you think it would even get to that point that even him as an individual will be made to pay for what has been done?
Well, it's to wonder. You've got to wonder whether anything will really become of it. These people seem to create so many loopholes for themselves. But I mean, the whole cabinet should be hung out to dry, really. And even the media, the Western media, has been absolutely irresponsible in reporting this issue right from the start. The Western media is as much responsible for war crimes, I believe, as the British government and the American government and every government that supported them. And yeah, will Tony Blair ever actually face charges? That's a very good question, because it's very hard to get these people to ever face charges. I mean, there's a string of war crimes right down the list if you look at English parliamentary history, right since World War II, even beyond. England's been thriving in torture and slavery for centuries, and it's just an ongoing thing. They just hide it very well. So yeah, it's a wonderful question whether he actually will face charges, but he should, and so should very many others.
Well, as you said, Mr. Egan, you said that it is not just even the British government, but even the media. So are we looking at systematic failure as governments, Western governments now, because as you said, when you look at the situation, what the governments, or we're talking about London or Washington, what they did, and also the lack of accountability coming out of the media. So what needs to be done that this doesn't repeat itself to change what has become the status quo?
Well, I think it's got to come down to the people. The people have got to realise they're being scammed. We're being scammed by our politicians. The aggression in all of that we're seeing in the world today is all coming from the West. The West is going out there and it's crying victim and it's stomping on other countries, and the media is complicit in supporting this. The media is controlled by very, very few people, and we're not going to get any honesty from them. We never have. Just look at their track record. They do not hold governments accountable, and that is their job. Without a strong media holding government accountable, you can have no security in your country. And how can we have national security, security of the nation, if our government themselves are out of control and our media are failing to support the truth and report the facts? So it's got to come down to mass education of the people, disseminating information. That's really what's needed. And it's got to come down to the people standing up and basically saying, look, enough is enough. We're sick of these criminals running the world, and we're sick of these criminals trying to start World War III, which is exactly what they're trying to do.
Thank you so much for being with us out of Brisbane. Max Igan, radio host and political commentator.
Well, I want to correct him. I think Tony Blair will be held accountable, but at the time Tony Blair will be held accountable, like all vast majority of very high up influential war criminals, it'll be when they're dead. Their crimes will come out when they're dead, and then it'll be like, so they'll live their life at Riley up until they're dead. Tony Blair, war criminal scumbag. Fuck you, you cunt.